Hey guys, it's Justin over at Anvil. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and thanks again for the support. I know many of you have supported some of the stuff that I put together in the past, and I hope this video is actually really helpful. I'm really excited because this has been 6 months in the making, and what I'm alluding to is the bushing tool. So for those who may have been watching or following me through my progress on Instagram, I'm stripping down my Hummer H1, and I removed the control arms, and I'm doing a complete refresh. You gotta remember that these bushings, they are 25, 30, 35 years old, whatever it may be. They're old. They need to be replaced, and so as you think about the maintenance of your vehicle, make sure that that's part of the consideration, especially if you're going to be breaking down and going through the ball joints. Ball joints get bad, so do bushing, so keep that in consideration. But you know, really, again, I'm super excited. I put a lot of effort and time into designing this tool, and I think it's going to be a huge benefit for those of you who are looking to do the bushing removal tool. Now, just to give you some context in terms of the history and trends that I've seen people trying to remove these things with a torch, where they burn them out. Really messy job if you do it that way. The other thing I've seen people actually drill around the circumference of the rubber and then pound it out, and then they use some other, I don't know, some other way of getting the outer sleeve out. So I started that process. I did it a couple times and trying different ways, and man, let me tell you, it was horrible. So this tool is going to be a massive upgrade and save you a lot of frustration. So in terms of the actual tool, we're going to go through a couple things. I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour in terms of what you're getting in your kit. We'll go into the removal. I'll actually show you a demonstration, and then lastly we'll go into how do you install the replacement bushing. So let's just go ahead and get started, and let me take you off the tripod here, and let's get you over to what is included. Now, what's included in the kit is pretty simple. We've just got some hardware, bolt, nut, we've got some washers, and then we've got 3 adapter plates. So these adapter plates are going to be used in conjunction of what process we're using, so whether we're removing a bushing or if we're installing a bushing. And then of course we've got the sleeve. This sleeve acts as an integral part of the tool that goes up against the control arm and allows us to apply the pressure on the control arm to pull or install the bushing. So again, all this stuff is a high grade. We've got a grade 8 bolt. I've tried various bolts in the past, and these grade 8 bolts are awesome. I've done a full set, and in fact, I've got the bolt right here. Let's take a look. I've done a full set, and as you can tell, those threads are still in really good shape. This is grade 8 bolt, so you can see it's used, but all those threads are in really good shape. So good stuff there, and I think you won't have an issue. But that's it. That's it in terms of the actual product, in terms of what is included in the kit. Pretty straightforward. Before we dive in, let me just give you a little bit of a couple things to consider when you're selecting your bushings if you haven't already. Now, I know a lot of people that in the past, and what I've kind of seen a trend in, is they have removed the OEM bushings and then they've gone ahead and gone with the poly version. So that's fantastic. If you want to go the poly route, great, but just a couple things I would want to mention is, if you think about the difference between rubber and the poly, I don't have any poly here, but there's going to be a couple characteristic difference. The poly, they are notorious for squeaking. Now, you can easily add some of the grease in there, but you are going to have to maintain that bushing more than your traditional rubber bushing. The other thing is that unlike rubber, which just degrades slowly over time, poly has a tendency of failing catastrophically. And what I mean by that is it tears. So as you can see with this rubber bushing here, this rubber bushing is about 25, 30 years old. What you'll notice, a little bit hard to pick up on the screen here, but the inner sleeve has shifted slightly towards towards one side. And so what that's done is that can have a little bit of effect on your alignment and handling. When it comes to the polys, I would challenge anybody to show me a poly bushing that has lasted 25, 30 years and still has the integrity of what this bushing has. I just don't believe it's going to be possible. They're just, poly in general is just not good for heavy duty applications. Talk to some shops. Again, this is just my opinion, but talk to some of the known shops and you'll see that a lot of them are sticking with the OEM rubber. But completely personal preference. There's benefits and you know, pitfalls of both. But for this application and the way that my tool has been designed, it's really to help you install, well, not only install new OEM bushings, but also remove the OEMs from the factory. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it, and let's start the video on how to remove the bushing, and then we'll show after that how to install the new bushing. All right, so let's get to it. In terms of removal of the bushing, it's pretty straightforward. I think you guys are going to find that this is pretty easy, and of course you may or may not have issues. Sometimes they're stronger, sometimes they're pretty easy to come out. If you've got a lot of rust, you know, it might be a little bit tougher to get out, but this is going to reassure you guys that this is going to be the tool to help you get that thing out. But we'll go through the process of removing the bushing. You'll see I've got an old bushing here that needs to be removed. And so what we want to do is kind of go through the process of how to set up this tool. So in terms of what tooling you're going to need from your kit, you're going to need the small adapter. The second one you're going to need is the large main adapter, which you can see here. We'll need the sleeve. Now keep in mind that you're going to want to use one end of the sleeve always for the end of the adapter. The reason being is that this edge right here is going to push up against the control arm. So what you're going to find is that this sleeve, I don't know if you can see it, but there's some imperfections right on this edge. That is totally normal. So don't be alarmed if when you're starting to pull these things out, this thing starts to get, you know, marks and, you know, it starts to deform a little bit. That's perfectly normal. So, and again, we're using strong DOM tubing to ensure that everything stays nice and strong and you don't have any issues down the road. So usually what I like to do is I like to just take a pen or a marker, and I like to just mark the end at which is going to be going towards the machine side. So, you know, mark it however you want. I'm just going to do a blue line. And what this is telling me is that this side is always going to go towards the machined collar of the adapter. Again, really important, because if this side starts to get deformed, you may or may not be able to fit it. So, in terms of uninstalling, pretty straightforward. What we're going to do, we're going to have this set up on this end, and then we're going to have this drawn up against the bushing, and we're going to pull it through. So I'm going to take my bolt, I'm going to slide it through. So I've got it going through the sleeve and the adapter. I've also got a washer on the end to distribute that load. Slide it through your bushing. Now at this point, it's important that, and this is optional, but I personally like to preserve my tooling as much as possible when I can. And so what I do is I use the thin washer first. The reason being is that on old bushings, before they were changed, they had serrated ends, and that serrated end can eat into the metal. So as I think about, you know, your tooling, if you want it to last long, this is 4140 steel, so it's not going to hurt it. I mean, you might get some marks and stuff like that, but if you're doing multiples, I would encourage you to use a washer right there before you put on your adapter. Once you've done that, go ahead and use your larger washer. The larger washer will prevent you from going too far. And then the nut. Now the important part here is you will have to do some alignment. So you're going to want to draw up, make it tight, and where you're going to want to align is making sure that this particular spacer is centered with the hole in the control arm. So if I just kind of show you guys, you want to make sure that's centered. So right now, actually it looks like I'm going to need to go down just a little bit. And then what I'd like to do is just trying to give it a tightening. Check it out. So I need to go up a little bit, it came down. Right there, I think it'll be good. Because it's going to be a tight fit. Now the other thing too is right here, when you're doing the old bushings, you're going to have some of that bushing material squish, and it might come out here and get cut. That's okay, don't worry about it. All we want to do is we want to make sure that your adapter right here slides in and is centered with the hole for the control arm. So at this point, we're looking pretty good. I'm just going to give it a couple taps over to the inside. Just a little tap down. I think we're good to go. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead. I'm using, in this case, I'm using a crescent wrench, so don't judge me here, but we're going to use a 15/16 wrench, and then I've got the impact with a 15/16 socket. So we're going to go ahead and tighten this, and we're going to do it until you feel it come free, and that you'll know. So at this point, I don't know how loud it's going to be, but let's just go ahead and give it a try. Okay, I just backed it out. And there you go. It's as easy as that. Now your washer, your adapter will probably be in here. So you'll see that I was able to center it. Now if you don't center it right, it might hit the edge, but I made these edges a little bit beveled so that it kind of slides in there a little bit easier. But there you go. That's it. Now you've got set the tools aside, and now you've got your bushing out and ready for your new ones. Okay, now that we've had the bushings removed, we're going to go ahead and show a demonstration of how the bushing is going to be replaced. In this scenario, I'm just going to go ahead and use my old bushing for demonstration. One thing to note before we get into the actual procedure is once you have these removed, and I have a lot of guys that I talk to, they'll get these painted or powder coated. The problem that a lot of people will run into, and this is not just Hummer or Humvee specific, is that they powder coat inside the press area. Big no-no. You want to make sure that you are getting this masked off if you're painting, because that material buildup of the paint, especially with powder coat, is thick, and it will cause you more harm in trying to get these pressed in. So make sure that this inside part of the sleeve is clear of any paint or anything like that. Now you'll notice from the factory there's some paint in there already. That's fine, but again, if you are painting, make sure, if you're doing like a light coat of paint, should be fine, but if you are doing powder coat, make sure that you have this masked off. So in the installation of the bushing, it's pretty straightforward. So we'll just take our bushing here. I'm going to go ahead and slide it in position. We're going to use 3 adapters. So the first adapter we're going to use is the one with the cup. that's going to actually fit right on the outside like this. And I'll see if I can get a little bit more zoomed in here. So you're going to use this guy here, and it's just going to go right over your bushing, and it should sit flush with that lip. The other part we're going to use is the main adapter and the sleeve, and of course we'll have the hardware. The main adapter and sleeve are simply going to go on this side. So I'll just go ahead and set that there. And then we're just going to use our hardware. So for our hardware, we're going to use the bolt right here, 2 washers, and the nut. And that's it. I'm actually going to use, so this bolt, this is just to show you the quality, this bolt right here has gone through a full set of pressing these out. So, and what's really nice is that these bolts, the threads are still in really spectacular shape. So again, you shouldn't have any problems with these bolts, but the design is built so that one is there's going to be a little bit of play so you can line things up. But also, these aren't that expensive. So if you do run into an issue down the road, if maybe these threads aren't looking too hot, you can always replace just the hardware, and you don't have to replace the rest of the pieces. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and set it up. I'm going to go ahead and run the spacer on the bolt. Run this through, so now we're looking at that. I'm going to run it through the bushing and then out the back. Now on the back there's going to be some threads. You're going to have just enough to go ahead and put that washer on, and then add the nut. At this point, what you'll want to do is just kind of make sure it's seating well. The sleeve is meant to, the outside may expand. That's by design, just because there's a lot of pressure that's getting put around the outside. So this sleeve right here will probably, you'll start to see maybe it starts to expand a little bit. You'll want to make sure that you continue to use that side of the sleeve towards the control arm. So once I've got this set up, again, I'm going to go and make sure everything is lined up. This spacer feels pretty good on here. In terms of tools, you're just going to take a 15/16 inch socket. I'm using the Milwaukee impact, and I'm going to impact it from this side. And then I don't have a 15/16 wrench, believe it or not. I don't know why. But anyways, I'm going to just go ahead and use a crescent wrench on this side to keep the nut from spinning. And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to impact this side, and it's going to draw it in. And then once it sits flush on here, we'll have our bushing installed. So I'm not sure how loud this is going to be on the video, but I went ahead and I've got my guns set up. So I'm just going to go ahead. Oops, sorry about that. I've got that lined up. Now I'm going to go ahead. Again, a wrench would probably be better. I forgot to get one the other day, so I'm just going to use my crescent wrench here. So as you see, I just put a little bit, I just turned it a little bit, and you can actually already see it going in. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and give it a blast, and what we should do is you should see this sleeve go right up flush against the arm. So here we go. There you go. I'm sure that was probably pretty loud. So now I just go ahead and take this off. And now you have your bushing installed. Alright guys, I hope that this video was really helpful for you. If you're thinking about purchasing, or you have any additional questions, make sure to message me in the comments, or send me a comment, or a direct message. So the other thing too is make sure that you subscribe to the channel. This is a channel that it's in its infant phase, so you're probably going to see a couple videos, but I plan to bring out some more products down the road. We've got some really cool stuff in the works, and I think a lot of people will be pretty excited about it. As you all know, I focus on high quality products, but I'm not out there to gouge you. We all enjoy our Hummer H1s and our Humvees. They're fun toys. They don't need to be outrageously expensive, so that's why I want to make sure that whatever I come out with is also affordable. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. The more subscriptions I get, it motivates me to get more content out to you guys. And of course, stay tuned, because I've got my build. I've got to upload a lot more videos. I've been really bad at it, but you know, the more and more push I get from you guys, and of course feedback, you know, the more I'm going to put up. So the other thing too is, if you are on Instagram, make sure that you look us up, Anvil Motorworks. We'll be updating that as well. We're still again in the infant phases of getting that up and running, and we'll have a website coming soon, so stay tuned. If there's any products that you guys think would be helpful for you, whether it's tools or just interior or whatever, let me know. Let's talk about it. Let's have an open dialogue and see what I can do. I've got some ideas of some products that are going to be coming out soon, so maybe that'll help start to get the ideas flowing. But as always, really appreciate everybody's support, and we'll see you on the next video.